Hi everyone, this is Agnes from NextGen Professional. Thank you so much for joining me on this webinar where we're going to be talking about job interviewing. I hope that the resources and this process that we go through together will help you in your journey for job opportunities as well as for any sort of interviews that you're going through. So first off, we can start with our website. I just want to go over what NextGen is. So this is NextGen Professional. So NextGen Professional, we are a recruitment and training agency. I am one of the co-founders. We've been working in the construction space, specifically construction, architecture, and design for over 7 years now. We are hosting free online resource classes because our community has grown so much. We have a lot of information. We want to share it with you, and we want to help you obtain whatever it is that you're looking for. So if you go to nextgenprofessional.com on your own time, you will see there's a free webinar tab button here. This is where we're going to be continually updating the classes that we are hosting. All our webinars are free. This is for you to take advantage of. So you can actually scroll down. The leadership classes are ongoing. They do build on top of each other, but they go through recaps. So you're more than welcome to connect with that. We did complete the job searching with social media series. It is on YouTube, and the link to the YouTube is here. We will actually go through that because this is a builder on today's class. And then there's going to be this class today, as well as I'm going to be hosting it next month for any individuals who would like to do the Q&A. And as per the job searching with social media, we will then complete the series and post the recorded sessions online, so you always have access to those. So I hope that helps. Perfect. So we'll go straight into the presentation. All right. So how to deliver a show-stopping interview. We just went over our future webinars, which is great. So we'll go to the first slide. Using social media for job searching. This was actually the first segment of the series that I'm building upon. Some of you on this call have actually joined me for the social media job searching. That's great. And you'll find there's a lot of connections to the job interviewing, a lot of preparedness that ends up happening. For those who do not have or have not had access or have not seen this particular series, I will give you the YouTube link. It's also on our website, but please go through that as well because it will help you navigate LinkedIn specifically, and it will give you resources as to various like SEO, search engine optimization for your profile. It'll show you how to properly project manage your own job search as you're going through your own job search and career path. So that's a really good starter segment. So we're going to jump right into the first slide. This is very technical and you'll see me reading. I had so much information I wanted to share with you from my experiences. I've literally interviewed thousands of candidates at this point. So I just started to go through everything, and I really hope that this is an organized fashion that you can take points from. So first round, screening interviews. These are very common when there's multiple candidates, and usually this happens on larger organizations where you might get a call from somebody like myself, a recruiter. You might get called from a human resources individual or a generalist individual. These screening calls are basically to ensure, basically what they are, and I wrote this down specifically, it's to provide a description of the company and the position that we are hiring for. So you get most of the information from us at this point. It's almost like an informal conversation. At the same time, we will be asking basic questions. These basic questions will help us qualify you for the role for the next step of the interview process. And finally, it will allow you to ask questions kind of immediately about the role and about what's happening. So it's kind of your leader into, is this even a good opportunity for you? You don't know if it's a good opportunity, so this could be your first step. These are usually what I call brief or informal chats. And these are the screening questions that then lead into more of the technical, more of the formal processes. The lightning bolts are here because I do consider these power questions. These are questions that other recruiters, other human resources managers will ask right out of the gate when they're doing a screening process. So I want to take you specifically through these and some of the appropriate questions that we should be, or answers we should be giving. So the first one, power question, why do you want to leave your current job? Specifically here, we're looking for motivation. This is really, really important. And I want people to focus away. I've had this happen a few times. We need to focus away when we're answering this question, away from salary. If your primary motivation to move is I want more money, it really comes across as crass. And one of the things is it becomes your loyalty to your employer, which could potentially be my client. Your loyalty becomes questioned. So please stay away from I'm looking for more money as your motivation to move. Some typical good motivations, and I wrote these down that we've used in the past. I'm not being challenged at my current role. I am looking to share my skills from overseas with a new employer in Canada for anybody here who is an immigrant here. I have a desire to learn more. I have a desire to take on more responsibility. So that kind of connects with the challenges. Relocation. Sometimes you just don't want to live where your current employer is, or maybe you're commuting so much. Relocation or less commute time is an acceptable answer for a motivation to move your current employer. Or I'm just looking for a career change. I really don't like where I am. One of the things I want to stay away from when you are answering this first power question, whether it's with a recruiter or whether it's with a hiring manager, please do not bash your current employer. Again, it comes across as crass, and it's something that if you are talking negatively about your current employer, that is a possibility that should you leave in the future, my client, or again, an HR manager, their company, they don't want you doing that to them. So it would come across and reflect negatively. It could come across negatively. So one of the things that I try to say is if you're currently in a position where you do have a negative employment or a negative experience with your current employer, be concise, be matter of fact about your situation, keep it brief, and try not to gossip and try not to bash them. Just say it's just not a fit. At the end of the day, we don't see eye to eye, but that doesn't mean that they're not a good company. It just means I'm just not a good fit there, or they're not a good culture for me. And I think that's a very truthful and honest answer. If you're not currently employed, one of the things that we want to stay away from is I need a job. We really don't want to come across as desperate for a job. I think that innately that could pull a recruiter or pull a hiring manager away from you. So let's stay away from I need a job. And some of the good answers that I've come up with here that I think could work. I am new to Canada and I have a great skill set that is transferable to a Canadian employer. I think this position is a good fit for my background and experiences. I am willing to take a step back from my former career to prove myself to an employer such as yourself. That's a really great headway into I'm motivated, I want to join your team, I think I have the skill set, I know I have the skill set, but I'm not desperate, because you don't want to put the ball in their court for that. Second PowerPoint, what compensation are you looking for? So this is where you're really going to have to do your homework, and you can reach out to peers, coworkers, I wouldn't say coworkers actually, just peers or industries, but there's a lot of online research. You need to find out your market space. So I'm going to just pause the screen share for a second, and I'm going to take you to a couple of websites that I've actively been pursuing. So this is a really good website. Randstad has a great website that you could use. Randstad has great, for this salary guide, you would have to sign up for it. I did not sign up for it, but you could. Another one that is online is the Hayes 2020. This is the Canadian salary guide. There are tons of them online, and you can be Canadian specific. So when you're doing your searches, just, there are different links that you could go to. I want to show you what this looks like though. So if you're going on the accounting, so this is accounting and finance. For individuals on this call who are not in accounting and finance, there is a construction section of this particular document, which I will be sharing this resource with you. So you just scroll down, architecture design, interior design. this is all in thousands of dollars. So then it gives you the geographical location as to what the averages are. And as you can see here, all figures are expressed in 1,000 Canadian dollars for an annual gross. So this is going to give you a really great idea of where you should be for your skill set in this market. If you are a junior, then err on the side of more of a lower number. If you are a senior, you err on the side of a higher number, but this is just sort of an average just to give you the headspace of what you're looking for. And it also goes into construction, project managers, superintendent, estimators, etc. So this is a really great guide that we could use later on as we're going through our job search. So have your compensation figured out. You're going to know this information up front. You're going to know your minimum base salary that you need. And we'll talk about that in salary negotiations at the end of the slide, because you're going to want to know how to discuss not just your base salary, but the overall package that a potential employer will have for you. But during even the screening, the beginning of this process, you're going to want to know and have your current package ready. This will include, because some of you on this call might know, I break it down. I want to know what your base salary is. I want to know what your RSP contributions are. I want to know your benefits. I want to know your vacation days, your sick days if possible, any bonuses, whether it's discretionary or guaranteed. And I also want to know your car situation. Do you get mileage? Are you getting a car allowance? Are you getting a company fleet vehicle? These are all very relevant pieces of information, integral pieces of information that you should be honest in sharing with your recruiter or with the screening individual, and have this prepared in front of you. If you hem and haw about your current compensation package, it either means that you're not telling us the truth or you really haven't thought about it, and you want to look prepared. Okay. What drew you to this position? This is another motivation question. We want to know, again, why you're leaving your employer, but you can also expand on this particular case. What I usually use, what drew you to this position, is to showcase your enthusiasm for the role. You know, we're here for you. We are giving you a job opportunity, a potential job opportunity. This is a really great space for you to say, you know what, I got your initial contact. I saw the job posting. I did a little bit of research. I really like X, Y, and Z about your company. I think this could be a really great fit for me. As you continue through the conversation, you know, there's other questions that they will be asking you, but I think it's a really important that you've showcased to the screening individual that you've researched at least a little bit about their company, so you know what you're talking about or who you're talking to. Another great one is describing your job responsibilities. This is a power question. It could be fairly basic during a screening. What I recommend is having your resume on hand. So if you are going to, if you've applied for multiple positions, honestly, just carry a copy of your resume in your pocket. Just do it. Just be prepared. If somebody calls you out of the blue with a non-coordinated call, at least you have your resume on hand. You can speak to your employment and you can speak to your experiences, and you can speak the same language of the screening individual who also has your resume in front of them, hopefully, if they're prepared. Another thing that I like to do is, if you're having pre-screened conversations, again, make sure you have your information on hand. So if it's a pre-scheduled conversation, at that point in time, you might be able to elaborate further on your job description or on your job responsibilities. From our previous class, the job searching with social media, we actually did go over how to appropriately customize your resume to the job description that you are applying for. So again, I will give you that resource if you have not seen that class, but this is on various levels, we will be interconnecting the two classes, and this is one of the areas that we will connect. So you have everything that you've done to update your resume. It's in line with the job that you're applying for, and you're going to go over the carefully curated points. When the screening individual is talking to you, you're going to connect the job description to your actual experiences on your resume, because that's what they want to hear. They want to see, you know, how many points on the job description you actually qualify for. Do you have any questions regarding this role? Again, very interesting. This is your chance to learn if this company is a good fit for you. At the end of the day, not every opportunity that comes across your way is going to be a good fit for you. So this is a really great way for you to tease out some of the questions that you have kind of burning inside, like culture fit, where is it located? Where are my projects going to be? This particular role, what's the growth opportunity? You're going to want to know all these things up front. So prepare these questions. So if you are going through multiple screenings, you're asking the same questions to different screening individuals, but at least now you have apples to apples to compare. If you're not prepared with this question, you might not get some of the information you need, and you might not be evaluating the job opportunities accordingly. Okay, if hired, when can you start? This is just kind of a standard. 2 weeks is a standard notice period. That's probably what most employers want to hear. However, for individuals who are actively on a project, please be cognizant of the time that you are going to require to properly hand off a project. So if you are currently on a project and you do need 3 weeks because or 4 weeks because that's the amount of time that you're going to need to hand off, be very open, be very honest about that. You know, I don't want to leave my current employer hanging. I like my team. I don't want to leave my team hanging. I need 3 to 4 weeks. Please be cognizant also that they're looking to hire probably within, inside a month time frame. If it starts to go to 4 to 6 weeks, it can be tricky and you can lose out on even the initial screening. If you're like, look, I absolutely need 2 months, that's 8 weeks. That might not be an option for the employer. So please be cognizant of that as well. If that's actually the time frame that you need, be open, be honest about it. But at the same time, know that you might not get that job opportunity because that might be too risky for them to try and hire that far out. So that's the screening interviews. How to prepare for the actual interview. So again, we're going to go back to the first class that we did. There's a lot of interconnecting activities that you can do, but basically you're going to review the job description. So the best thing for you to do is review the job description of what this particular interview is going to be about right beside your resume. If you have to print them off, put them on your screen side by side, you're going to draw all the parallels between what the job description wants from you and what you've currently done and your experiences. You're not going to lie about it. You're just going to draw the parallels and draw the lines between the two, between yours and theirs. That's what you're going to speak about in the interview as well. So you're examining all the requirements, responsibilities, and considering how your resume fits with that job description. And again, I'll give you the resource from the previous class on how to do that. Research the company. I get this a lot. A lot of candidates, and I wouldn't say a lot, but there have been instances where candidates just don't bother to check who the client is that they're talking about. And I think that could be a loss leader because the hiring manager, human resources individual could actually take that personally. You got on the call with them, you got on the video chat with them, and you didn't bother to check who they are or what the company is about. So depending on the company, you should be able to answer overall questions about the products, the projects, the market, or potential strategies. It obviously depends on what industry and area you guys are coming from. You're going to check everything from their webpage, their LinkedIn, and any social media accounts. This is where you're going to draw information and write down the following on key projects and products that you're interested in, or anything that you find interesting about the company. Like for instance, if they are top employer in Canada, that's something that you could write down and say, can you tell me a little bit more about these awards that you won as a top employer? All very relevant information that showcases to that particular hiring manager that you've done a little bit of due diligence. So really, really good way to get into their good books right away. No, that's part of the research your company. Know your resume. Again, this is kind of connecting back to the job descriptions and your resume, but you're going to have your resume with you. I always want you to have a copy in front of you, especially if you're in a virtual meeting or if you are in a face-to-face meeting. Just print out and have it in front of you. Sometimes when we're in an interview process, we are nervous. We are going on tangents. We are long-winded. It's all part of the nervous process that an interview can take us through, and that's okay. But if you have your resume in front of you and you've studied your resume back, front, side, even if you brought the job description and you have those lines showing the parallels, that's a really great way to stay on topic with the interviewing individual. And if you've highlighted your strengths right out of the gate on your resume, that's an instance for you to say, I brought my resume with me. Here's a copy for you. Here's a copy for, these extra individuals who may have happened to pop into the class. Wonderful. Can we discuss my strengths here? Can we discuss these amazing parallels between the job description and my actual experiences? If you have a physical copy of your resume with you, that's a really great way to just be confident because you've practiced this, which takes us to the next level. Practice, practice, practice. Do it with a family member, do it with a friend. Ensure that the mock interview is conducted in English. So if you are, from overseas, or if English is not your first language, please conduct these mock interviews in English or with someone who also speaks English, especially if you're going to be interviewing with a company and their primary language is in English. It's going to help you so much more. Give your mock interviewer a list of questions asked during an interview. So there are a lot of common questions that are asked during interviews. This then means that your friend or your family member can actually rearrange the order. They can ask variations on these questions. And in doing so, you can actually learn how to be adaptable and flexible and pivot as the different variations from the mock interviewer come through. I'm going to stop the presentation for 2 seconds because I do have a resource that I want to share with you, so bear with me. There you go, from Indeed Career Guide, 19 common interview questions and answers. So these are basically, it's a cheat sheet, but maybe this is the questionnaire that you can give to your family or friend to conduct in English so you can practice. These are all the top questions, and again, they can create variations. You can even throw in your own questions if you think there's something specific coming from a specific organization. And then it actually gives you kind of the best example of answers to give. So I highly suggest doing this as a practice. I know it might feel awkward, but if you can get through this part and be confident through this first phase of the interview, the formal interview process, it should upgrade your resume to a different level or upgrade your profile with that organization to a different level. So I highly suggest doing something like this and practice, practice, practice. So I will share this link with you guys afterwards. Perfect. Okay, prepare questions. That was the other slide on the webpage, but I'll take you back to it. So basically what you're going to do is, this is similar to the first screening process where you were asking questions about the organization. One thing that I find happens is from the screening with human resources or a recruiter to when you're actually formally starting in the interview process, sometimes there's a disconnect between the questions that you asked, the answer you got, and what's actually going to come from the hiring manager. So sometimes if you've asked certain questions during the screening process, that like really, really informal part in the beginning, maybe write those questions down because again, you're asking multiple screening questions. Bring that into the first formal interview process and re-ask those questions so you're actually getting the same consistent answer. For instance, if you were to say something about, what's the culture here? And the recruiter told you one thing, just reconfirm that that's actually how the culture is at that organization. It doesn't hurt to ask the same question twice, especially if they're different people. You just want to make sure that you're staying consistent and you're actually following a career path in an organization that you truly want to stay with, and you're getting consistent information. So just prepare those questions. This is the ethical jobs, 20 smart questions to ask at the end of your next job interview. So these are some questions that you can play around with, and you can learn more actually about questions you could ask for a hiring manager and seem like you're engaged and you're prepared. So this is actually during your screening process. During the screening process, and please know I have actually a little tab over here. Currently, screenings and interviews could be happening via phone. They could be happening through a Zoom, so a video call like we are right now, or they could be happening in person depending on what zone you are, everything to do with COVID. So be flexible for either a phone call, a video conference call, or an in-person interview. So specifically if you're doing a phone call, specifically if you're doing a video call, find a quiet place. So if you're in an office and you're currently working, it might be really hard for you to take a call or a video chat in your current office. That could be awkward. So if you're going to do it from your car, which I have been noticing a trend of people taking calls from their car, phone call, fine. Obviously, no one knows where you are. But if it is a video call, let the screening individual know or the hiring individual know. Please note, I will be taking this from my car. I am at work during those hours. I will take time off of work, but the only quiet place I have is my car. If that's acceptable to the employer, at least just give them the let them know so they're prepared that they see you in your car. I just find that helps the smooth transition of what an interview should go through, especially because we're in just such an odd changing time with COVID. If you are going to come from your car or do an interview from your car and it is a video chat, please, 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 please dress accordingly. You are still being interviewed. It is still a first impression. For men and women, I always say collared shirt, blouse, make sure you look appropriate and professional. So that's still a consideration, even though it's a virtual video call, it is still a first impression and it is still an interview. So please dress accordingly and look professional. Okay, be enthusiastic. So sometimes when we have calls with individuals, it almost comes across like we're bothering them. If you're looking for a job and you're interested in the opportunity, there should be a little bit of enthusiasm. So feel free to build a rapport with the interviewer at the various stage of the process, whether it's screening, the human resources, or even if it's the hiring manager directly. Please feel free to build a rapport. This can be engaging in light and brief chit chat. This will help break the ice. And at the time, I always say at the beginning, when you've broken the ice, express how you look forward to this interview or how you have been looking forward to this interview. You can say something such as, oh, wow, thanks for connecting with me. I did a little bit of research on your company. I'm really enthusiastic about talking to you because, so far what I saw from the research, I like what this company has to offer so far. This does two things right out of the gate. It sets the tone for a pleasant and hopefully non-tense conversation. Again, we're nervous. This can help break the ice. So this can help settle break the ice and settle it down. Also, it lets the interviewer know right out of the gate that you've researched them. So you've checked that box right out of the gate. They know you're prepared. So that's a really good way to sort of be enthusiastic about the role without sort of over dramatizing to them and maybe making it a little uncomfortable. Please be straightforward and confident in your answers. So how do we do this? One, we're going to go over it again. Know your resume. Study the job description to your resume, connect those points and those experiences. You will have more confidence when you're answering these questions, especially when you've practiced, previous slide, when you have practiced with your family member. This outward confidence, because you've practiced, will then it will appear in your interviewing processes. So the confidence you have to the job description, your resume, and through your practice will actually show. So I really highly suggest that. Please ensure you're answering questions directly. This is the straightforward part of it. We do find sometimes that candidates who are long-winded on answers tend to lose focus of the question and actually end up going off tangent. So this then can confuse an interviewer and can come across as circumventing the question so you don't know, or it can come across as a miscommunication or communication disconnect. So please be brief with your answers. Answer the question directly. If you have a lot more information because you're like, oh my God, like that particular point I know everything about, great. Here's a way around that. You do not have to be brief necessarily, or sorry, you do have to be brief. But when you're at the point of a question and you know that you can expand on it, just say, would you like me to expand on it further? I actually have a lot of experience in this field or this area or this point. Asking the interviewer if you can expand can open the door to further conversation. It also shows your confidence in that particular point, but it gives the interviewer an opportunity to decline. So if the interviewer is like, well, I don't really need more information on that, I just need to know that you know how to do it, they can then opt out, or they can say, yeah, sure, give me 1 or 2 points. It's just another conversation piece, but keep it brief, keep it straightforward, answer the question, and then ask, I have a lot more, do you want me to expand? So that puts it back in their court. So I hope that made sense. Please test your equipment if necessary. So if you are doing a phone call, make sure you're in an area with reception, and make sure that no one's going to be interrupting you again. As well, if you're doing a video call, there are so many platforms right now, much like we're on Zoom, there's WhatsApp, there's Google Hangout, there's Teams. I just feel like there's so many different virtual platforms. Please ensure if you are using a laptop, your microphone's working, please ensure that your video's working. If you are going to use your phone to do a video call, the one thing that I would say is it's incredibly distracting to have your video moving around like this. I don't know if you noticed how distracting that absolutely was. Put your phone in one spot, practice using it in that one spot, have a clear and open background that is non-distracting, that's organized, that's clean. You know, you look professional, and it is a stationary camera. So again, practice and test with family and friends on different platforms, or ask the interviewers to send you the link beforehand and say, I just want to test the link to make sure it works. But if you are using a mobile phone, please keep it stable and in one stationary spot. Okay, ask for the next steps. So this part's really difficult, and I'll go through who the different people are, but basically you're going to ask, if you're talking to the interviewer, you're going to ask for the next step in the sequence. Do I go through a second interview? If I'm going through a second interview, how many people are on that call as well? Generally speaking, how long, that's one question you can ask, sorry. Generally speaking, how long do you want me to wait before I touch base with you again? You can ask this of the recruiter, you can ask this of the hiring manager, and you can ask this of the human resources individual that screens you. You know, I want to reach back out to you. When should I do that? If I don't hear back from you in 1, 2, 3 weeks, when should I reach back out to you? It just helps kind of keep the ball moving, but you've been given their permission to approach them again. Recruiters, some of you have worked with me on this call. Please note, we work on a number of roles at the same time, and we work with many, many candidates. Personally, I handle about 500 candidates a year. That's my average. And that does not include the rest of my team who asks me for help to jump onto calls. It's a lot of people. We try to stay as organized as possible, but please be persistent, but be kind and just stay in touch. If you haven't heard back from us in a while, it probably means you didn't get the job, because trust me, we work on commission. If you got the job, we would jump right on it. But please stay on top of mind, stay connected. If you're on this call, you are staying connected, and we will always keep you in mind. Good recruiters should, at least. And staying in touch. Another thing you could do after your interview is get the contact information, with their permission, of course, get the contact information for the individuals that have been interviewing you. Then you can ask them if you can connect with them on LinkedIn and just say, I just want to stay in touch with what you and your organization's doing. Connect with them on LinkedIn And then another thing you could do is watch out for their comments, their posts, future projects, existing projects, and just kind of stay connected through social media. Again, I'm going to blast you to the first set of seminars that we did, which was on job searching with social media. That has a great segue into how to appropriately connect with people on a long-term basis through LinkedIn and how to stay relevant and top of mind for them. So other class. So next slide. After your screening, after the interview process, thank you notes. Yes and no. I personally, I'm actually ambivalent about it. I don't have one way or another, but I do think they could be a nice sentiment for some people. So a brief thank you note, I don't ever think hurts a situation. If you do have the contact information for the screening individual and you've asked for their permission to link or connect with them on LinkedIn, just say, do you mind if I send you a thank you note? They probably wouldn't have an issue with that. I don't actually know anyone who would say no to that. So just again, another way to stay top of mind and relevant. I do have a website that I found on how to properly write interview emails or thank you emails. So this is just a really great resource to use, what to include, templates, why you should say certain things, and a final consideration. So I will give this to you. And then that way you can actually craft your own thank you emails for the individuals and cultivate it specifically for the job that you're interviewing for. Following instructions. Pretty basic. There will probably be instructions given at the interview. Just follow them, whether they said, follow up by email, or we will follow up in a week or two, or we will get back to your recruiter. Follow their instructions. If you tend to go outside of the instructions, that could be a negative mark against you. So for instance, if you are working with a hiring manager and they're like, I'm going to reach back out to your recruiter because you came in through a recruiter, maybe reaching back out to your recruiter rather than going directly to the hiring manager. Patience. Patience is a virtue in this regard. Be prepared that you potentially could not get a call right away. It could be weeks, 2 weeks. I've had situations where a hiring manager comes back 3 months later and they're like, you know what, we didn't get the jobs that we wanted, but now all of a sudden we got all the jobs that we wanted. Do you mind resending that info? Do we mind putting an offer on the person we interviewed 3 months ago? It could happen. I've seen various situations where it's weeks or months out that we end up getting an offer letter. So I'm not saying that you have to wait around for that. I'm just saying that that is a potential possibility. So please be prepared for that. Prepare for a second interview. There sometimes is indication in an interview process where they say, this went really well. We're going to want to bring you in for a second round to meet with other individuals. At this point in time, ask the interviewer if there is anything further that you should prepare for. This is your opportunity to seize and say, I'm coming in again. What do you want from me so I can better explain or better showcase who I am? So you're going to ask them, is there anything further you should prepare for? Was there anything of interest in your background or experiences they would like to know more about? So like, what can I expand on? And what will the next focus of the interview be on? I find sometimes interviewing managers if there is 2 interviews, break out first interview to be informal, get to know one another, see if it's a culture fit. And the second interview tends to be more technical. Sometimes that's reversed. But regardless, knowing what your second interview is going to be about, just by asking the question, can help you better prepare. And this is all about preparation. Continuing with other job opportunities. Unfortunately, I can't guarantee you or promise you a job. And unfortunately, even though you make it to a second, if not third round of interviews, it doesn't mean you're going to get the job. So continue on with other job opportunities. I would like to, again, bring you back to the NextGen job searching using social media. We do have a segment on that particular webinar on how to appropriately project manage your own career prospects. So that's really important, because if you're job searching or continuing your job process, but you're looking at like 100 different jobs, it's very overwhelming. And at the same time, you might be losing out on these opportunities because you're not preparing for them all correctly. So please go to the first segment that's recorded and kind of tweak and learn how to appropriately project manage your own career path. And stay in touch. That's basically what we talked again, you know, connecting through social media, connecting through LinkedIn, or even a thank you email. So that's something you can do after your screening. I kind of doubled up on that, sorry. Okay. Salary negotiations. This one's tricky. And I wanted to, I'm going to caveat some points, but this one's tricky. So familiarize yourself with industry trends. I sent you guys, or I just gave you the links and we can go back to it. There are a number of industry resources for different jobs and the market rates on those jobs. Please familiarize yourself with those job brackets. This needs to be prepared at your screening process. So the very first point of the interview process, the first interview and the second interview, should it go to a second interview. All the way through, you need to be prepared for this question. And you need to be consistent. So what we're going to do is how to build your case. So you will be successful in explaining why you deserve your allotted compensation, how you're going to do this. So you consistently given the same package information from the screening, the first interview to the second interview. How you will be successful, and this is building your case, this is the second one down, sorry. You will be successful in explaining why you deserve it, because you're going to highlight your strengths. You're going to show details of all the extras that this firm can get from you. Again, you've looked at the job description, you've looked at your experiences. Now you're going to sit there and say, these are my strengths, and this is either a financial bump that I can give to the company through my experiences, or this is a time saver I can give to the company. You're building the case as to what you're able to give this company through them hiring you. Before negotiating, you want to jot down examples of how your skills and experiences will benefit the company's bottom line. Exactly what I just said. Try and convert these examples of your skills into time savers or financial savers for the company. That tends to help a lot. And then be prepared for remarks about your weaknesses or learning curves. So a company might come back and say, you know, hey, John Smith, I know that you want $100,000, but market rate's only really 90, and there's going to be a learning curve because you're missing X, Y, and Z. That can happen, so be prepared for that. I have another website I want to direct you to. You don't have to focus on your weaknesses, but you should at least be prepared in case somebody asks you about your weaknesses. So we're going to go to, this is a wonderful article that Forbes wrote. I do quite enjoy Forbes. How to talk about your biggest weaknesses in a job interview. This is a great article. It kind of goes through why employers ask this question. It goes through appropriate etiquette on how to answer this question. What I always know your weakness, this is being part of being prepared, is knowing what those weaknesses against that job description are going to be. And then being honest that I am weak in this area, and having an answer or a solution or an example as to how you can overcome or have overcome that weakness in the past. So this is an incredible article. I highly suggest reading it. This will be part of the resource center, but please know that this could be a common question asked during the interview process or during the salary negotiation, when you have to sort of like kind of go to the ropes and protect yourself and really get the number that you're looking for, that you think is fair. Telling the truth, honesty is key. So I wrote this down and I had kind of an internal thought process about this. Please don't try to stretch the truth on what you're making. When you're working with a recruiter such as myself, be honest. It is my best interest to get you a pay increase if I can do so. we work on contingency, a lot of us, so commissions. If we do make the placement, we get a percentage paid from the employer based on your salary. So we are going to work on your behalf to get you a pay increase should we do it, as long as it's fair and within margin of our client and what their market or their internal salary infrastructure holds. But we need you to be honest, because this is the consistency. If we put you forward at the screening process, we've got all your information, you're prepared, you did your research, but we go to interview number 1, and now you're saying different number or information regarding your package and expectation, and then again, different to the salary negotiations. There's only so much that your recruiter or your first initial screening individual can rebuff any remarks that are coming from a hiring manager. So please be consistent. Please tell the truth. We will do our best to work with you, but this is not the process nor the stage to kind of stretch and see what you can get. I have found in the past, employers can see through that. And I have found in the past, we've had offers withdrawn at final stages, like offers usually the final stage of an interview process. We have had offers revoked and taken away because somebody somewhere down the line didn't tell us the truth. So it does happen. So please tell the truth, be honest, and work with the screening or hiring or recruitment partner to ensure that that is consistent all the way through. Consider perks and benefits when you're talking about salary negotiations. Companies have a variety of packages and they're quite unique to the company. So if you are coming in with just a base salary, they might offer you a company vehicle. Well, a company vehicle with a gas card in the CRA, so Canadian Revenue Agency, is worth anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000, just depending on what you're getting with the car. That is an expense to the employer. So you're sitting there saying, well, I'm only getting my base of 80, but I wanted 85. But they're sitting there saying, well, we just gave you a car, we're paying your insurance, et cetera, et cetera. So they do consider that part of the package negotiation. This can include, and I have this all written down, this can include the car package, benefits package, any other allowances given to you, vacation time, RSP contributions, etc., bonus, all of that. This is all paid out of the pocket of the employer. So if you really like the organization and they can or can't get to your base, you have to look at everything as a total and really break it down to see at the end of the day if what you're looking for in your package can somehow align with all these variety of components that this employer is offering. Do they match up at the very end? So please be open-minded. Practice. Again, practicing your negotiation skills. This is something that you can do with your friends, your family, again, in English if possible. You're going to practice on how to present your strengths, how to present your weaknesses, or discuss your weaknesses should it come up. And you're going to discuss, you're going to practice how to negotiate based on your market research. So that's something that I want you guys to practice as well, because that could be very helpful at the final stages of an interview. And get it in writing and be positive with hiring managers. So once a hiring manager and yourself settle on a compensation package, ask for the written documentation. This is really important. Besides the salary amount, it needs to include any of the special arrangements that you guys have come up together. So again, the rest of the package that we discussed, that should all be in writing. The one thing I will caveat is bonuses. Bonuses are typically discretionary. So bonuses will probably not show up in majority of contracts. It is in the event that the company has an issue, they maybe didn't do as well as they thought. They don't want to guarantee a payout of 10, 15, whatever the percentage is. They might sit there and say, this year we actually didn't really do that well. Everyone in the company is only getting 3% payout. It happens. It happens. It's not all the time, but just so you know, bonuses aren't typically signed into a contract from what I can see. They're just discretionary. So please be aware of that. Ensure the document is signed by both you and the employer. This is something that could happen. To be honest, most of my employers, they sign it sort of like the day of. So they give you the information, you sign it and send it back. You would probably have to follow up with the recruiter, with the hiring manager to ensure that you get a signed document scanned and sent back over to you. Please do not take photos of any scanned documents. Like, don't take a photo of it. Properly scan it and properly send it over. And if that means you have to go to a post office or a UPS, please do that. Taking a photo doesn't, it's just like not legally binding, I don't think. You can barely read the writing. It doesn't show up okay. It's just a JPEG. Properly get it scanned into a PDF if you can. And then working with hiring managers. Hiring managers don't love being in negotiating phases of an offer letter with a candidate. They usually just want to hire someone, get them on the job so that they can take that off their plate. So please be very positive in the negotiation process. Be, adaptable. Be flexible. If they're trying to undercut you or underball you, if you're not working with a recruiter, but if you're working on your own, handle that with a nice, positive, outward, and go back to your negotiating skill set. But if you tend to shut down in the negotiation phase, the manager will shut down in the negotiation phase as well. So they don't want to be there as much as you probably don't want to be in that phase. So I did actually pull up, I'm going to stop the process again. I did actively pull up a couple of great sites. So I don't know if you guys know about LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is a free resource. And so I came up with a couple of courses that I will share with you again. This one's expert tips for answering common interview questions. So you could actually watch videos and go through segments of how people go through the interview process with these common questions. It had some really, really great reviews. So I think this is something that maybe you guys should also consider as a resource. These are other classes. Some of these, if you if you Google LinkedIn Learning and search under hiring and interviewing, please note some of these are actually for hiring managers to interview you. Whether or not that's helpful, I don't know, but you could probably see it from the other side of the story. So these are a couple of other virtual classes you could take. And this is also salary negotiation. Again, LinkedIn Learning, this is a free resource. If you would like other resources, I have come up with Udemy, which I do like Udemy because it's a very inexpensive platform. You're just probably going to have to search around, but this is interviewing skills, ace your job interview. Again, really good ratings. It's a 14, it says 1 day left at this price. I don't know, sometimes they increase the price and then they bring it back down and then they increase the price. So if you monitor this website, you might be able to get $14.99 or you might be able to get it for $14.99 a week from now. They just tend to fluctuate. So that's how to interview on Udemy. So that's a paid course. English. Okay, final point. For anyone on this call who English is a second language, I have had this conversation with some individuals on this call. Hiring managers, they want to know that communication is part of the process and is going to be a skill set that you can bring. I highly suggest going through some courses on English for business. There are other courses like Udemy has this course. They also have a couple of others that you can go through. There is also I don't know if you can see this, adult learning English as a second language. There's a couple of courses specifically about individuals who are, it's almost like English training for the professional space. And I do believe, I have to do further research on this, so I'm so sorry. I do believe that there are training centers through Employment Ontario. I found a list of them, and these training centers will assess your English skills and then give you that assessment and help you find the areas that you might want to practice or you might want to get further help. So out of the gate, if you don't want to do any of these courses, but again, English is your second language, I just suggest practicing with someone where English is their first language. When you're practicing everything from your interviewing to negotiating, maybe talking to someone who English is their first language, and then asking them for feedback or advice on if they could understand what you were talking about. And I do believe in that solely because I know that you guys have this experience and you have this wonderful personality. You want to showcase it as best as possible. If you cannot properly articulate that, or if the interviewer interviewing you cannot understand you articulating that, it's going to be a leader lost. You guys are just going to disconnect right at the beginning. So you want to put your best foot forward. And if that means practicing with somebody where English is their first language, I highly suggest it because that will also build your confidence as well. So I think that's all I have. Let me go back to my presentation, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's all I got, guys. Does anyone have any questions? Hacky, how can I promote myself if I am self-employed, for the first question? I would, again, you have a resume, Hacky. I would take your resume, compare it to the job description that you're applying for, your projects, compare it to the job description that you're applying for, and draw those parallels. If you can get reference letters from employers that you have worked for, I'm sure if you are working for yourself, you've worked for someone who's paid you. So getting reference letters and backing up your resume and your project list with references would be a really good start. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, I have experience, but I'm getting problem communicating. Okay, Sapir, so I would suggest practicing. So we've given you all the points on this particular presentation. I'm hoping you took some notes. I highly, highly suggest practicing with someone where English is their first language, practicing your negotiation skills on salary, practicing your screening questions for the first round, and practicing your interviewing questions based on your resume and the job descriptions. Practice, practice, practice. Slowing down your speech is really important for anyone where English is a second language. Slowing it down so that the other individual can kind of catch up sometimes, you know, like they need time to process what you're saying, especially if there's a heavy accent involved, or if they too have a different accent. That's a whole other component. If there's two individuals with two very distinct different accents speaking English. So practice, practice, practice. Sapir, I hope that helps you, but I do highly believe in practicing so you come across confident, and you can also practice your speech. Any other questions? Would you suggest most resumes for the summer positions be sent before April? I'm not sure. Would you suggest most resumes for the summer positions be sent? I think are you asking for co-op, John, or are you asking specifically for like an actual perm position? If it's like a co-op position, you're going to have to go with what your co-op guidance counselors want to do, because I'm not too sure. Everyone has a different co-op term. If you're looking specifically about summer positions or summer positions, yeah, I don't really do a whole lot of work with summer or part-time work, but yes, the sooner you get the process involved. You know what, John, I'm going to say yes. The sooner you get the process involved with individuals, even if it's like March and you're like, hey, I'm a summer student, I'm just preparing myself. Why not? That gives you more time to talk to more employers for a summer position. I would say start it as early as March. Okay, any other questions? Oh, you're welcome, Sapir. If you just graduated college, how do you approach the compensation question? You do exactly as I said. You go on, you find out the market rate for a college graduate in your region and in your industry. And then if you have any sort of experiences, so specifically if you have experiences in co-op, you highlight your co-op, you highlight why that is a great indicator for why they should hire you. We did a class, Colin, if you look on YouTube, the NextGen YouTube, I actually specifically did a seminar on college students and what you should say during interviews. So I don't want to keep flipping you guys back to other classes, but we did do all these seminars. So I highly suggest going onto our YouTube channel and finding the for graduates course that we did. I think it was a pretty quick one. It was maybe about another hour, but that could help you. Perfect. I have a drawing on my wall. Can I use it as a backdrop for an interview? Kendall, that's up to you. I have my Marilyn Monroe, and she's my favorite. And she comes into some of my interviews and some of my recordings. And sometimes she doesn't. Today I chose not to, but it's completely up to you. And if you feel like it could be a conversation piece, like if it's a stunning piece where someone might, oh, wow, look at that piece behind you, you know, that could be your icebreaker. So that could differentiate you. But I would, again, make sure it's appropriate, make sure it's professional. You know, you don't want something that is maybe makes someone feel uncomfortable. So please use your common sense when putting any sort of backdrop behind you that might be a bit different. How important is screening compared to the actual interview? Guys, I will knock someone off a list if I feel that they're not taking me seriously. So if you're dealing with a recruiter, specifically with a recruiter, and you do not take the recruiter seriously, I don't have time for that. I'm going to be very transparent and very honest. We grade our candidates. So I will grade a candidate A, B, and C. And one of the categories for grading my A, B, and C candidates is how serious are they taking the process. So if you're just jumping on the call, like, yeah, you know, you called me, like, I don't know, what opportunities do you have? I don't want to talk to you, because I have 2 or 3 other candidates that are like, oh my God, thank you so much. I'm appreciative. And you know what? They might not have as great as a skill set as that first candidate that was kind of nonchalant, but I know I can work with them. I know that they're going to present themselves as best as possible. This guy's a wild card. I'm not talking to this guy because he might not be able to make it through the first interview. So it's very important. Anytime you're doing anything to do with your professional life, be professional. You don't know what recruiters can bring to your doorstep. You don't know what a hiring manager can bring to your doorstep. You know, they might sit there, and the screening individual for HR might say, you know, I don't think you're a great fit for the first role, but you're so professional. I think you could be a great fit for this role. And that's your screening interview. Your screening interview took you from job A to job B. I've seen it happen. It happens several times a year for us. So please, 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 always, always, always be professional to anyone who calls you with a job opportunity. Even if you don't like it. Thanks, I'm not interested, but please keep in touch. Okay, I don't think we have anything else in terms of questions. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate everyone taking the time. I will email out these resources to you guys. Again, really, really appreciate it. We will host another of these webinars next month. So in that case, next month, you're more than welcome to join us. If you have other individuals that you want to share this with, please share this. We're trying to help as many people as possible. As well, I will ask you to please, please, please email me feedback. Email me feedback on if this was a great seminar, testimonial. If you want to help us out, we do reach out to clients and other candidates with this information. So testimonials help us and help with our reputation. And then finally, if you guys are able to just kind of like our posts and comment on our posts. So if I put up a post of this, if you guys can sit there, you know, I'll probably tag a couple of you and just say, you know, this was great, if it was great, obviously. That helps, again, build our reputation and allows us to continue with these seminars and help people. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a good one. Take care.